What has become a trend in recent years are these things called binaural beats and subliminal soundscapes, low and high frequency music for relaxing, meditation, sleep, health, and healing. And similar to that is ASMR, which is a lot like auditory acupuncture. There's obviously a fair amount of skepticism revolving around these sound patterns, but the general science behind them is they create alternating patterns of vibration on either side of the brain, at least with binaural beats, anyways. One slightly lower than the other sound, and what happens is your brain matches the frequency in the middle, whatever that desired frequency is. Different brainwave patterns are associated with varying stages of consciousness, from sleep to deep meditation. Now, these sound patterns and frequencies actually go back thousands of years with old instruments, wind chimes, Tibetan singing bowls, the Hindu Om, and in Qigong meditation, you have various sounds pertaining to different organs and parts of the body, and also the chakras, which align with important glands in the body, all being connected to different frequencies. To show some charts so you see what I mean. Now, I believe there's an electromagnetic component to sound and healing, but the most important part of it is how it affects our own body's hormones and a chemical balance, as well as its effects on fungi. Mantras, prayers, and spellcasting, they're all based on this. For spells, the idea in ancient times, especially I would say in Egypt, where we see it very vividly, words were used because of their sound and the shape of the sound the words make. While not as old as Egypt, something like abracadabra was a healing moniker that was spoken in a triangular pattern. Both the speech and physical lettering were interrelated. Even prayers like Christianity's Lord's Prayer based on is based on the same geometric patterning. Rhymes are important in music as they are in ancient magic and shamanism. In fact, both magic and music, like myth and mycology, I argue, are derivative of the same fungal relationship of man, both utilizing and combating fungi. These healing mantras and frequencies are capable of causing physical disruptions and bursting microorganisms such as fungi. Science is slowly starting to test this, I think, though there have been some claims on success, but it probably is met with the misunderstanding of the real forces and causes of disease and sickness, which is fungi. What I mean is that there's not going to be a cure for the flu. A flu or cold is a set of symptoms in reaction to an attack on the body and the immune system, and that attack is ultimately fungal in nature. What mucus is slime mold being excreted by the body. It's a way for the body to purge fungus from itself. The different colors of mucus that come from sickness are various fungi attacking the body or stages of fungal development. Mucus actually means slime mold, and that's exactly what snot is. It's mold. Something like a sore throat is caused by the snot in your sinuses that drip down in your neck, and then that leads to, or can lead to, strep and then scarlet fever. You can avoid this by not swallowing snot and laying on your stomach when you're sleeping when you're sick. You just want it out of your body. A fever is the body's defense mechanism to also purge any infection by overheating itself in the hopes of killing whatever is attacking it. This isn't foolproof because if the fever never breaks, then you can overheat and dehydrate severely. So you see the typical symptoms of a cold are general consequences and reactions to an overgrowth of mold inside the body. Colds can progress to many other illnesses if untreated, which really just means the progression of fungal decomposition is continuing inside of you. You're quite literally being eaten from the inside out. Now, music has been used as a defense to this for thousands of years. It's a way to preserve youth and fight sickness. It is the destruction of fungal molds and yeasts that music gets its association with healing. Now let's take a look at the etymology of music. Music comes from muse, as in the muses of Greek mythology. Muse is of Proto-Indo-European origin of a word called men, a different etymology from human, which is degem, or earth, though some have linked the word men to the Proto-Indo-European root word men. It's off topic, but all I'm saying is that they're probably related. It's just confusing that the root word is men. And men means to think. It is a root word implying the intelligence and sentience of humans. Concepts like thought and seer and spirits and mind, spirit, the sense of self, these all have to do with Proto-Indo-European word derivatives. This list is from Etymology Online, so you can take a look at some of the words we get from it. This is a pretty big list of words, and each one has its own, family of words. So this is an important root word, you could say. Right off the bat, we have some interesting words like Mandarin, which was originally a Chinese official, but eventually became the name of the language, or what we call it. And the fruit mandarin was named after the resemblance to the color of the robes worn by the Mandarin, the Mandarin officials. Minerva is the Roman equivalent to Athena. We also see concepts of mental degradation like dement, amnesia, manic, maniac, mental, mind, reminisce, monument, mosaic, mantis. It's a very intriguing root word because the concept is both very vague and almost philosophical, but seeing the derived words give us insight into how people from the ancient past and in between then and now viewed the world. Etymology is one of the most interesting studies, in my opinion. But back on topic, music and muse are words associated with thinking, this inspiration of spirit, the mental capacity for putting that idea of a soul into a different form, the form being a song. The inspiration of the muses, as is commonly expressed, related to the ingestion or the induction of fungus, probably originally in the form of a neurotransmitter, but perhaps just the flow of creativity. And that will be a topic for another video where I go into fungal activity and its relationship to the brain and the self. You get a hint of this by connecting the concepts of thought to music and music's primary purpose as healing and self-expression. Something that happened in the Middle Ages during the bubonic plague is actually quite interesting. Churches would ring their bells with the thought that it would drive away the sickness. Criticized by modern historians and scientists as a bizarre case of superstitious religious healing, it's not really possible to determine the efficacy of that practice, but even if it did nothing to stow the plague, the idea behind it is correct. It would really depend on how high of a frequency the bells would get. So maybe some regions experienced a lot less death because of the church bells. It's something worth looking into to compare the original bell, if we have it, used during that period and how hard that region was hit with the plague. I mentioned wind chimes before, and these existed as a superstitious way of keeping evil spirits from entering the home. Now you can see why the high-pitched noise of the chimes could actually keep the evil spirits, or mold, as we've learned, from the house by destroying the organism altogether in the same way that garlic was hung in houses for the same purpose, or the circle of salt for protection. Before diving into the esoteric and occult, there is another video I need to make first before it makes sense, but I want to start establishing the idea behind the ancient concept of spells and magic and the power of music, beyond even healing, but into the realm of this inspiration, which is going to lead to the topic of the esoteric and occult, and its relationship to fungal intelligence and how that all affects us. So this will be the end of this video, since I'm trying to make these sort of easier to digest in building up the core tenets of the world we live in and the frame of Mykthology that comes from this. Thanks for watching.